Okay, why don't we get started? We might have a few more folks joining us. Thank you all for joining us today to learn more about the Public Lands Internship Collaborative under the Rocky Mountains Cooperative Ecosystem Studies Unit. My name is Lisa Gerloff, and I am the Executive Coordinator for the Rocky Mountains CESU here at the University of Montana. And I'm joined today by Brendan Moynihan. Brendan is the National Park Service Research Coordinator and Science Advisor for our CESU. Over the next hour, Brendan and I will share the benefits of the Internship Collaborative, as well as the structure of how it will work. And there will be plenty of time for questions as well. Before we get started, I want to point out a couple of the webinar features for you. Down at the bottom, you should see a question and answer box. It's here that we would like you to type in any questions that you have for us. You'll also see a chat box. Please use the chat box for comments. During the presentation, Brendan and I may have a question for you all, and it's here in the chat box that we'll ask you to put in your responses. I know a number of you joining us today are familiar with the Rocky Mountains Cooperative Ecosystem Studies Unit and are active users of the CESUs, but maybe not all. So we'll do a quick overview. The CESU is a network of federal agencies and mostly university partners, but we also have conservation organizations, tribes, state agencies, all working together to support agency missions and informed public trust resource stewardship. You can see the Rocky Mountains is one of 17 CESUs that blanket the nation. Our CESU has 11 federal partners and 31 non-federal partners, of which 27 are academic institutions, and 4 of those are tribal colleges here in Montana. The mission of the Rocky Mountain CSU is to improve and disseminate the knowledge base for managing natural and cultural resources in the rapidly changing social, cultural, and environmental landscape of the Rocky Mountain region. And we accomplish this by cooperatively facilitating research, technical assistance, and education projects to meet the needs of our federal resource managers. We also, another goal is also to facilitate opportunities for students, and that includes internships that are pertinent to the needs of the management agencies. That's why the Rocky Mountain CSU is the perfect umbrella to launch the Public Lands Internship Collaborative. Some of you might be familiar with the Interagency Internship Collective offered by Southern Utah University. The IIC is a successful program that was started in 2007 with a dozen internships and now consistently places over 200 interns a year with its agency partners. The IIC is the inspiration and model for us here in the Northern Rocky Mountains. The Public Lands Internship Collaborative aims to develop, support, and simplify meaningful paid internship opportunities for students from varied degree programs at our academic institutions to support natural and cultural resource management, planning, data sciences, social and human dimensions, and countless other agency needs. Why create a centralized internship program? Relationships foster success. This collaborative approach is a win-win for all partners. For the universities, it enriches student learning, enhances recruitment potential, offers faculty the opportunity to ground their technical curriculum in what's actually happening on the ground, decreases silos and encourages problem solving, generates tangible, quantifiable outcomes that can be clearly communicated to university, legislative, and public audiences. For the students, it offers experiential and service learning experiences, meaningful internship credits, and the ability to be mentored by agency staff. For students, it's the bridge to professional life. It gives them real life experiences to participate in potential career choices and connects their classroom experience to what's happening in the landscape and in the communities which they may in the future find jobs. And it's a great resume builder. For you, the agency, it advances stewardship and increases your capacity as an agency. Internships may draw from any discipline supported by our academic institutions and may include interpretation and visitor services, natural and cultural resource management and research, trail and facility services, range management, IT, technical writing, art, or program administration. The possibilities are limitless. It engages youth and jumpstarts career. Staff, agency staff are the mentors to students, delivering professional development and offer career guidance to energize prospective next generation public land managers. It delivers fresh and diverse perspectives. Both students and their faculty advisors offer new information and approaches to challenges that you may face. It leverages proven partnerships to exchange expertise and promote collaboration and improve information and technology resources. The big one for you, it reduces administrative burden. Interns are university employees, and the Public Land Internship Collaborative, or PLIC staff manages the advertisement, the recruitment, the hiring, the pay, and the supervision of the student. It's cost effective when run through the CESU. Beyond the direct cost of the project, the agency pays only the low CESU indirect rate, which is 17.5%, and students are paid a living wage. How does this work? Under a solid internship structure. The student intern is supported by 3 tiers of support: the PLIC staff at the university, a faculty advisor, and the agency mentor. PLIC staff provides the organizational and administrative support for the collaborative. The agency funds and provides position descriptions for the internships. The PLIC staff takes those internship positions and advertises through university student networks, recruits with the help of faculty, hires with input from you, the agency, pays, and is the official supervisor of the intern. So it's the role of the PLIC staff to make sure the intern knows how to do and submit their timesheet, their travel work. If things come up on the work site, if they get hurt or there's any, let's say, conflict, it's the PLIC staff that will help the student or guide the student to navigate those issues. And that frees up the agency mentor to be just that, to be a mentor, to not worry about all that other stuff, but provide agency and position-specific training and orientation for the intern and guide the intern in their daily tasks. So in the process of hiring a student, the PLIC staff will work with that student to identify the appropriate faculty to work with them to write their educational goals. Now, the agency mentor is not involved in that process, but should be aware of it so they can support the learning process for the student. We know that a lot of training that a student needs kind of cross-cuts internship positions. So a role of the PLIC staff is to work with the agencies to identify those trainings and offer a suite of trainings to the student before they go out to their workstation. Those trainings might include first aid and CPR, risk management, defensive driving, Title IX, diversity training, how to be a leader. And we also know that success means supporting our agency mentors as well. And we will work with our faculty and you, the agency, to provide mentor training. So you are ready to set up the success for the student intern. Brendan, do you have anything you want to add?
Thanks, Lisa. I think you covered it pretty well. I would just maybe highlight from the agency perspective that this structure really is intended to be to allow for a light lift for the agencies in both regards of getting the administrative pieces in place to get an intern funded, selected and placed. But then also, I think it was an excellent point to highlight, Lisa, that a primary intent of doing that, besides just making it easy to use a program, is to really establish that agency contact as an active mentor and not to be burdened by, say, timesheets and process and onboarding and background checks and that sort of thing. So hopefully this structure, and we're happy to take questions on this, but hopefully the structure will really create a lot of freedom on the front end, kind of on the stage front of the internship, and behind the scenes, behind the curtain, so to speak. A lot of that work will be taken on by the internship center staff.
So I hope at this point you are all thinking, hey, this internship collaborative sounds awesome and can help me meet the needs, help me meet my needs and provide a great learning opportunity for a student or students. Before I hand the presentation back over to Brendan to talk about how the funding mechanism will work for all of this, I would like to ask you to type in the chat box the kind of internship opportunities you could see supporting through this collaborative. And while you're doing that, I'll hand it over to Brendan.
Yeah, thank you. So we just have a few more slides here, just a couple slides, and this kind of gets us to the nuts and bolts of how this will happen, how the funding can run to the internship collaborative and result in an intern placed at your unit. For folks here that are not with the National Park Service, so I hope you forgive me that I'm going to use kind of an NPS-centric approach to talking about task agreements. But that being said, the process across the board for federal agencies is quite similar, and some of the legwork that I will be doing with Lisa on the front end to set up templates and that sort of thing, I think can be used in close to a plug-and-play fashion for other agencies as well. So this will certainly be relevant to all the federal partners. A couple really interesting things about this mentorship program, and I'll just let you read through the objectives. Lisa's already hit on most of those, but one of the really important structural parts of this is that the internship programs are structured to allow for the students to acquire academic credit at the home institution while getting that experiential exposure in a professional realm. And so that's great for the student, but it also does something more for the agency host, and that is it helps distribute kind of the investment and responsibility for the student's experience and the scope of their internship across both the federal and the non-federal partners. So the faculty advisor who's connected to the student. As we work through a task agreement, which will be that is the standard functional vehicle for getting federal dollars to a university partner for any work, and it will certainly be the mechanism for getting interns in place here. My intent is to have on short order in the next couple weeks or so a draft task agreement that is set up specifically for use by parks and programs to acquire interns through the Public Lands Internship Cooperative. And so there will be, in addition to the usual task agreement template that folks are maybe familiar with from past CESU work, it'll be that plus some sections pre-filled essentially to give some background information and the objectives and the overview of the task agreement that set the stage specifically for the internship program. It will include some standard public purpose language, and in the section that typically outlines responsibilities of the parties, there's a bullet list for what the agency will do and what the partner will do. Some of those will be pre-filled, and then what I'll also do is flag sections in the task agreement that really require the ATR or the park host to be to plug in the description of that particular internship opportunity. So we're going to try to here also kind of lighten the load a little bit in terms of the administrative piece that's required to get these interns in place. In that public purpose section, which we know is important to having these agreements slide through and sail through financial assistance review quite easily, those will be largely pre-filled. I've already done quite a bit of legwork in talking on the Park Service side with our financial assistance team. They know that this program is being stood up. They're strong supporters of it. They know that providing student experiential educational opportunities is a key part of what the CESUs are, and it's one of the more successful and highlighted types of services that the CESU can provide. So I expected that between that pre-work and the standard language in the task agreements, it should be easy for you as a project proponent, but also easy for financial assistance to sail through with approval. Next slide, Lisa. There we go. Oh, there we go. So this is where probably a lot of you came to see. This is the slide. This is the slide you wanted to see from the federal side. This is just one example of what it might cost for an intern essentially working full-time, so a 40-hour week during a say a 10-week summer session. The standard rate for the intern is going to be in the ballpark of $17 an hour, and that comes from some guidance service-wide in the National Park Service that has been identified as a suitable living wage for summer student hires. The standard fringe for students hired in that category by the University of Montana is 10.9%. Travel will be project dependent. We can talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But then this indirect cost rate, this is just that straight 17.5% that we all know from the CESU program. And again, you know, Lisa already mentioned this, but I think it's important to highlight that there's this added major support component that is purchased by that same indirect rate. And that is that the internship staff, which is essentially Lisa and some support staff, especially as we get this program up and running, are providing all that service of the advertisement through the University of Montana's handshake system, online system, the recruitment, the review of applicants, the opportunity for a federal agency to have input and some comment on a suitable applicant pool for the internship, the placement, the hiring, the pay, the supervision, all the personnel actions, all that sort of stuff is included in that same 17.5% that we would pay for any CESU project. The two pieces that are going to have to be internship dependent are any travel and the consideration for housing. So housing in Park Service units is incredibly tight. It's quite restricted, but we encourage parks that do want to have a hosted on-site intern to consider that support as part of the package offered to the intern. And then the travel portion can be worked out between the essentially the agency host and that budget discussion for the specific internship opportunity. It might include travel to and from the site initially at the start and finish. It might include travel that's required for the student to execute the duties of the internship. But it wouldn't include things like, you know, allowances for an intern to use a federal vehicle on the job, that sort of thing. So there is quite a bit of customization that can occur here, but you can see that for a 10-hour employee who has great administrative support and a faculty mentor, just under $9,000 for the summer season is quite a great deal. Next slide, Lisa. I think that wraps it up for the informational part of the presentation. I want to add that one of the things I'm also looking into, at least in the Park Service side, is that there are some new federal allowances for internships to have an attached direct hire authority, or a DHA as it's called. And I haven't yet settled whether that authority can be attached to these internships. It's something that I will be able to get a definitive answer for. If the answer is yes, then that means that in the case of the National Park Service, a park unit could access and hire a student non-competitively after the internship is over, after they're done with their studies at the university. So still a couple more details like that to be rounded out, but we anticipate a real successful launch of the program this year, and happy to take any questions now about the mechanics of it, or the scope, or any particular ideas that you have for a particular application at your work unit.
And again, I'll ask you to put your questions in the question and answer box rather than the chat box. But there were a couple questions that came up. One was, is a task agreement the same as a assistance agreement? And the answer is yes, it's the same. And then there were questions about when and the length of an internship. 400 hours is what is what is considered standard for a 3-credit internship. And so that is what our the budget sample example we gave is based on. But there's flexibility there. You know, we could definitely do a longer summer internship, and we're launching the program emphasizing summer internships, but there is definitely the ability to offer internships during the school year as well.
Yeah, we've had good luck with that on internships that have been either standalone one-off opportunities or some annual opportunities as well. I saw Jason Smith is on here. We've had a couple interns during the academic year at Grant Corps National Historic Site, and have been quite successful there. The one other thing I'll point out, I suspect a question will come up in this regard, but we're still in this COVID world, obviously, new variants, etc. For some internships, travel won't be plausible or likely or supported perhaps by the federal agency. So this program is wide open to internship proposals that could be executed remotely as well. We've all gotten quite effective at remote contact. You know, certainly the preference is to try to embed the student in the you know, on site at a federal unit. It's tough to beat that experience, especially when you're early career. But there may be some internship needs where, say, there's a data management assistance requirement, or perhaps drafting some language for a visitor document, or some interpretive signage, or any number of things that might come up. You know, think broadly about this. Along those same lines, we have access not just to the traditional natural and cultural resource disciplines at the University of Montana, but the full breadth of all programs at the university. So for folks that might be wondering whether there'd be an opportunity for, say, a computer science task, or a GIS task, or a science communication, or journalism task, something like that. Those are all on the table. So,
and I would add, in launching this, we expect this year most internship opportunities would probably go to University of Montana students, but this is a Rocky Mountain CESU wide endeavor. So internship opportunities will be open to all of our academic partners. And one of the things I'm really excited for about this collaborative is the capacity to reach out and engage with our tribal colleges and providing opportunities for their students.
yeah, so a question from Jason about access to agency network. So, and vehicles and housing allowance. So on the first one, they would not be federal employees. So they'd be state employees, employees of the University of Montana. And I know there are ways to either have cooperators or partners get network access, but I'm myself am not quite familiar with that process. I know that the background turnaround time on background checks can be long, and that's one of the difficulties we have with hiring not just interns but seasonal hires as well. So this wouldn't necessarily resolve that, but my wheels are turning now about looking more deeply into the kind of the cooperator level access. Regarding the use of agency vehicles, so the answer is yes, especially if once we have this template task agreement set up. So I've just gotten the standard language that that other internship programs have used, and we will have some standard language in the task agreement that specifies that the government will allow the intern to use government vehicles, you know, as assigned, as required. The way it works is that if there is an accident or some sort of issue, the university is required to carry liability insurance on their employees. And because these people would be paid, they wouldn't be able to sign volunteer agreements. That might be the usual case with either Park Service or BLM or a National Wildlife Refuge. So, so we'll have that standard language in the TA, and that's backed by some guidance from the solicitor that we got through the CESU program a couple years ago. And housing allowance would be a possibility, or is that worked into the $17 an hour? So, so the $17 an hour is, Lisa and I talked a little bit about this yesterday. The vision is that is the summer salary and shouldn't be as a standard consideration thought of as part of the housing allowance. If there's a need to have the student on site and an opportunity, a benefit to having the student on site, my encouragement would be to offer some sort of modest additional stipend, housing stipend that could be worked in as a budget item. There are a number of different ways to classify those things without having it hit a budget as travel. And so we could work with you on that. You know, the $17 an hour, it is a good hourly rate for an intern, but it's pretty difficult for an intern to pick up and find reasonable housing for 10 weeks. You know, with a month-to-month or just a season-long lease at peak season in a lot of places, especially where some of these units are in really high-use recreational areas. So we'll work with you on that, but a housing allowance would be, I think, a really good consideration.
You're a quiet bunch. I would just add that, you know, these types of questions and more, you know, will come up. But, you know, this is the reason to have a collaborative, to have a partnership. Because these are the types of issues that can be solved when there's more partners working on it. Great.
Yeah, and I see Jamie's question.
Yeah.
From my own perspective, and I've worked for the BLM for a couple of years early in my career. Yeah, I get those constraints for sure. At that hourly rate, I don't think there's any expectation that there'd be a provided per diem for interns on site, and that's part of going with the guidance on that that living wage hourly rate. is that it does allow students to be self-supporting, and it makes it easier for the agencies to not have that that per diem condition. You know, sometimes we offer that sort of thing with volunteers. I know in the refuge system, I worked there for a couple of years, they would sometimes let a volunteer use like an administrative campsite at no cost if they had a travel trailer or something like that. So again, you know, I think flexibility and creativity is the key, and the way this internship is set up, I think it gives a lot of both, a lot of room for both. Yeah, so Rebecca, yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'll have that template created before long, and that will be available. So in a couple places, it'll be available. Lisa can post it on the Rocky Mountain CESU website. That way it's available to all agencies. And then on the signature line for me or my counterparts in our Intermountain Region CESUs, there's a link to CESU process and administrative templates. If you click on that for my signature line, it'll for any of them, it will take you to a kind of a how-to stepwise document, and one part of that document includes a link to templates for the individual CESUs, and those templates will be posted in there. That's where they'll live.
Yeah, I would add that I'm in the process right now of revamping our Rocky Mountain CESU website to include the Public Lands Internship Collaborative. And once that is live, and I expect that in the next week or so, there will be a tools section, tools and forms for the intern, but also for agency partners. And that's where we can post the template that Brendan is going to produce, as well as a position description template that any of the agencies can use to format and write their internship position description.
Yeah, and I see a comment from Kathy about it seeming similar to an MCC intern program, but with the added connection of a student's background and interest and training that backs their career goals and what the agency needs. And yeah, that's exactly right. You know, I think based on experience, again, from other internship programs, and I'll use Grant Corps again as an example. We had 2 2.25 interns that contributed to some foundational products for the park. So one student who was interested in sustainable agriculture and soil health created a visual conceptual model for soil health specifically for Grant Corps based on the foundation statement and meetings with resource professionals there. Another student came and followed up on that and did a couple things. One is they set up that park unit as a site for the National Phenology Network, and kind of created the whole framing whereby visitors to the park can collect data on site, learn about phenology, learn about park resources, and be part of kind of a larger virtual community. She also provided and wrote some language on plant phenology and climate change that went into the introductory material for a plant ID booklet that was just published by the park. And also in that booklet, we were able to hire and pay an art student at the University of Montana to create an image, a hand-drawn color pencil drawing showing a phenology stages of Rocky Mountain iris. So those are some really good examples of kind of 3 students who all worked on the same realm of project that was scoped by the park, and they all brought some specific skills to really contribute, I think, and make that richer than just providing the students some exposure.
Are there any other questions from folks?
Oh, great. So there's an offer to talk about the direct hiring authority. Okay, so that's really helpful, Robert. And I would like to talk with you about that, or I see you go by Bob. That would be really helpful because, you know, again, we've provided one example of kind of the standard summer opportunity here, but there may very well be longer or shorter opportunities depending upon the agency's need. And if there is an interest in trying to establish one of these internships, say with an individual student across the duration of their master's program, or as part of a 2-season-long or 2-year-long capstone project for someone in an honors college track at the university. Those can be opportunities that come up and don't have to necessarily be committed to at the outset by the agency. You know, they might find that they have an internship or an intern that's so productive and so helpful and so plugged in that site that they want to extend things, and we could probably have a discussion at that point. I'm well into speculation now, but the point is, Bob, that I'd love to talk with you about that and hear more.
Okay, well, if you have more questions, please go ahead and type them in. We're really excited about offering this internship collaborative. I've been familiar with the IIC out of Southern Utah University for quite a while, and have had many conversations with Bridget Estep, who runs that program. And we're, Brendan has expressed the excitement from the agency folks he has talked to about this program, and we're getting some great comments on here that it looks to be a great opportunity. But the same is happening on the university side as well. Everyone we talk to, the University of Montana is the host to the Rocky Mountain CSU, and we're housed in the College of Forestry and Conservation. And my college is very supportive in launching this, as well as the experiential learning and career services. They're being really helpful in providing a template for reaching out to students, and using Handshake, which, if you're familiar, is kind of the student network here on campus, but at most campuses of our other academic partners as well. So it'll be a great tool for outreaching to students. And this is the exact type of student experiential learning that our university administrative is supportive of. So we're excited to launch it this year, and just the where this can go, I think it is limitless.
Hey, Lisa, could I just add one more thought that just popped in my head, and that is that some folks may have seen one of the seminars that we had in the seminar series last winter on justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. One of the seminars that we had was very, very personal and impactful stories from students who had worked for agencies on seasonal positions largely, and focusing on students who were indigenous, Black, minorities, people of color. And I just want to kind of connect us back to some of those messages. For those of you that didn't see it, there's a recording available, and I think folks that saw it were, it made a strong impression on them. The point being is that we want to make sure that all students, but especially students that may not look or sound like the mold that they're being embedded within at an individual federal unit. We want to make sure that they have exceptional opportunities as students, and that means supporting them in creative and customized and tailored ways, but it also means supporting and encouraging the mentors to have some awareness about considerations that that may not otherwise pop into your head, but can be really influential to a student's experience. And I think that'll be really important, especially as we look to work with students from our tribal colleges and such. So I just want to add that as kind of a plug, that for folks that are thinking that you're interested in this, you might want to talk more about it, or you know that you definitely want to put in for an internship, that we have those discussions as well to make sure that the student has the experience that they rightfully should have, and that will make it more effective and impactful for everyone involved in that internship.
Yeah, the video that Brendan is referring to is on our Rocky Mountain CSU webpage under the seminar tab. And, you know, we got great feedback on well, it was a conversation about the JEDI issues, as Brendan mentioned: justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And it was a conversation with BIPOC students on how they navigate those issues both on campus and when they're out in the field. And a number of agency folks that watched that video said it was eye-opening. And also, we also know that it's been used in kind of trainings, agency trainings. And, you know, it's definitely something we will use in any mentoring training that we do through the collaborative.
Well, you had some great input and questions here, Lisa, and I'm happy to take any follow-up, not just from Park Service folks, but other folks on the federal side. If you want more information about how it works on the from the Park Service end of things, I'd be happy to help out as well. So yeah, thanks for the input and the reactions. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today. And yes, reach out to either of us if you have questions, and hopefully we'll be working with you soon to provide an internship opportunity for our Rocky Mountain CSU students. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh, I see one other question just came in, Lisa, but that's from that Bob Ratcliffe, and I'll follow up with him directly.
Okay.
Yeah, could they work in other regions? Yeah, that'd be awesome.